everybody, Cynda here for this week's Outlandish Comparison. Today we will be comparing episode 211, Vengeance is Mine, to Dragonfly and Amber, chapters 43 and 44. If you haven't read the book or haven't watched the episode yet, please be warned that spoilers are coming. Our book version of Charles Stewart is often very different to our TV version. In the episode this week, Charles Stewart was really ready, like, we're gonna go, we're gonna conquer, we're going to London, we're doing all this stuff, and it was more all his advisors and generals that were saying, we don't think that's a good idea, we should camp out for the winter. In our book, Charles is kind of just hanging around in Edinburgh and talking about going to capture these places and that places, but he's not really doing that much. Our TV version, he was much more ready to go out and conquer. Also in our show, you see Jamie going and standing behind Prince Charles and saying, yeah, we should do this, we should go now. And I think that comes from he and Claire trying to change the future. Because even if they don't know what conquering London right now would mean, they're like, at least it's better than us all gonna go die in Culloden. So I really like how they did that in the show, and you see Jamie and Claire feeling very dejected. In our story, we don't really have a battle, but I would say more of a minor skirmish where they're fleeing and Claire ends up going to the church. In the midst of this small attack, Rupert gets injured. Now, in our show, Rupert got hurt in the eye, and Claire was able to get the bullet out and save him. In our book, Rupert was actually shot in the lung, and he's very mortally wounded. You can hear the blood gushing out when he breathes, and Claire realizes, I can't save him. And I kind of wish they would have killed off Rupert in the show just because he has such a tragically beautiful end. In our book, Rupert also realizes that he's dying, and he asks Dougal to ease his passing as his chieftain, to kill him rather than let him fall into the English hands and they kill him. So you see this beautiful scene where Dougal really doesn't want to kill his friend, but he does it for his own sake, and it's kind of beautiful in that way. The rest of the scene in the church, our book and our TV are very similar, of how Claire goes with the English to save all the Highlander men and Jamie that are in the church. What was really cool that the show added was along the way where Claire doesn't know where she's being taken to, she encounters Hugh Monroe. If you remember back to book 1 or season 1, it's Hugh that actually gives Claire the Dragonfly and Amber, which is the name of our book, so it's very cool that he shows up again. And it was great to see this little encounter that Claire and Hugh had in the TV show. Now, anyone who has read Dragonfly and Amber already has been waiting for this moment all season, when Claire is at the Duke of Sandringham's. Now, I can't say I like the book version or the TV version better. I would say I like an amalgamation of them both. The one main difference between our book and our show is that in our TV version, the Duke tells Claire that he didn't really mean to kill her by sending his servant after her in Paris. He just meant to ruin her reputation, to pay off the Count Saint Germain because he owed him a lot of money. In our book version, though, the Duke definitely says, yep, I tried to kill you. But it was more for political reasons. Because if you recall, many times we're not sure whose side is the Duke really on. Is he a Jacobite? Is he not? So the Duke tells Claire that he tried to kill her because he knew that Jaime was trying to thwart Charles Stuart's plans and trying to inhibit Charles from receiving money to launch a rebellion. And if you remember back to the mysterious musical message, it was signed at the end with an S for Sandringham. Now, in our show, we actually knew that immediately when Claire and Jaime were like, S, it's Sandringham. In our book, we just realized this now for the first time. So, in our book, the Duke explicitly tried to kill Claire in Paris. Now, everything all comes to a head in our book and our show as Claire and Mary are trying to escape, and Jaime shows up. In our book, Jaime is able to get the key and get in to Claire's room where she had been locked in there, and Mary says, I'm coming too. So Jaime's like, all right, whatever. On the way out of the house, they meet the guy who attacked Mary and Claire in Paris. And Jaime just pulls his head back and says, you attacked my wife, and she's going to be the last face you ever see, and cuts his throat right then and there, and it's really intense. And then everyone's kind of fleeing, it's all crazy, and then they get out, and you realize that Hugh Monroe had been captured by the English guards, and they hung him. And you find out that his son is there, and so you go to Hugh's house, and as you're there, you know, Jaime's giving condolences to Hugh's wife. Murtaugh comes in with Mary and Claire and Hugh's widow and puts the Duke of Sandringham's head out there and says, I give you your vengeance. Very intense. Our TV version was equally intense in a slightly different way. It was much more physical, and we got to see things happen in action. Mary actually ends up being the one to avenge herself. She kills her attacker. It's pretty impressive. And then we see Murtaugh just get this crazy look in his eye and take the axe and chop off the Duke's head. And then the show just ends, because what can you say after that episode? I loved this week's chapters and TV episode. I really liked how in our book, Rupert got his moment, his final goodbye, and he got that beautiful moment with Dougal. And I really liked in our show that, unless they tell you next week, but I like that they kept Hugh alive. That poor Hugh Monroe didn't get killed, because he's just such an adorable character, and he's suffered enough in his life that you just want to hug him. And so I love that they kept him alive, and I hope that he remains alive in the show next week, or they just don't mention it again. That we can think that Hugh lives on. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's Outlandish Comparison. If you did, please subscribe, share it, and like it, and I will see you all next week. Only a couple more weeks to go.